At dinner, Mom passed me a note that said, "Pretend you're sick." Seconds later, someone at the table collapsed, and that's when everything changed. Like, share, and subscribe if you think families hide the darkest secrets. This story will leave you speechless. Everyone at the table froze when the spoon hit the floor. My Aunt Karen's face turned pale, her eyes rolling back before she dropped to the ground. My cousin screamed, Dad rushed forward, and I just sat there, pretending to hold my stomach like Mom told me to. But inside, my heart was racing. Why would Mom warn me seconds before this happened? Dinner had started normal, fake smiles, fancy plates, and the same judgmental looks I got every family gathering. I was the disappointment of the family. Maeve, the girl who dropped out of college to chase silly dreams. My cousin Ethan had just bragged about his promotion, while my aunt bragged about her new beach house. I kept quiet, pushing peas around my plate, pretending not to hear the whispers about how I still lived with Mom. But then, Mom slipped that note under my hand. Her face didn't move. She just kept smiling at everyone like nothing happened. I read the words and froze. Pretend you're sick. It made no sense, but the tone in her eyes. It wasn't a request. It was fear. As chaos broke out, Mom suddenly stood up and said, "Call 911." Her voice cracked. But what I noticed next made my stomach twist. She didn't even look surprised. It was like she knew this would happen. While everyone panicked, she pulled me aside and whispered, "Don't say anything, Maeve. Just keep acting." My voice trembled. "Mom, what's going on? Did you—" Before I could finish, Dad turned toward us, his face red with suspicion. "What do you mean, acting?" he barked. Mom grabbed my hand tighter, her nails digging into my skin. "Trust me, Maeve. Please." The paramedics rushed in, lifting Aunt Karen onto a stretcher. My cousins were crying, Dad was yelling, and everyone's eyes darted toward Mom, like they somehow knew she was hiding something. And deep down, I felt it too. Because just before they carried Aunt Karen out, I saw it. The same tiny white bottle Mom had slipped into her purse earlier that evening. Now lying near Karen's chair, and suddenly, everything I thought I knew about my mother started to crumble. The moment the ambulance left, the room felt heavier than air. Everyone sat in tense silence, staring at Mom like she was a stranger. Dad's voice finally broke through the quiet, low and cold. "Linda, why did you tell Maeve to pretend she was sick?" Mom didn't answer right away. She just kept glancing at the door, like she was waiting for someone to burst back in. My hands were shaking under the table. "Mom," I whispered, "what's going on?" Her lips parted, but before she could speak, Aunt Carol slammed her palm on the table. "You poisoned Karen, didn't you?" she shouted. The whole family gasped. Mom shot up from her chair. "Don't you dare accuse me of something like that!" Her voice was sharp, but her eyes, they gave away something else. Guilt. Or maybe fear. Dad grabbed the little white bottle from the floor, holding it up like evidence. "Then explain this," he yelled. My heart dropped. That was the same bottle I saw earlier. The one Mom had tucked into her purse right before dinner. Everyone's voices blurred into chaos. My cousins whispered, my uncle was on the phone, and Mom, she just stared at that bottle like it was something she recognized. Something dangerous. Finally, she turned toward me, her voice trembling. "Maeve, go to your room." "No," I said quietly. "Not until you tell me the truth." Her eyes filled with tears, but she shook her head. "It's not safe for you to know yet," Dad scoffed. "Safe? Linda, for God's sake, your sister might die and you're talking about safety?" That's when Mom broke. Her voice cracked and she said, "That medicine wasn't supposed to be here. I was trying to protect everyone, especially Maeve." The room froze again. "Protect her from what?" Dad demanded. Mom looked around like the walls had ears, her voice dropping to a whisper. "From the same person who poisoned me 20 years ago." My heart skipped. "What?" She looked straight at Aunt Carol, her sister, and said, "You know exactly who I'm talking about." Everyone gasped. Carol's face went red and she yelled, "You can't still blame me for that. You have no proof." Mom's eyes burned with tears. "Proof? You think I need proof when I nearly died?" And then She turned to me, her expression full of regret. Maeve, the reason I told you to pretend you were sick is because I thought they'd target you next. The entire table went silent again, except for the faint sound of sirens fading outside. I looked at my mom, my mind spinning, and whispered, Mom, are you saying someone here tried to kill us? She nodded slowly. Not someone, Maeve. Family. And at that moment, I realized the dinner wasn't just about celebration. It was a setup. I couldn't sleep that night. Every creak in the hallway made my heart race. I replayed everything in my head. Mom's warning, Aunt Karen collapsing, the bottle, the look on Aunt Carol's face. None of it made sense. But the fear in Mom's eyes was real. When I finally walked downstairs, the lights were still on. Mom was sitting at the kitchen table, staring at a photo, a picture of her, Aunt Karen, and Aunt Carol from years ago. Her hands were shaking. Mom, I said quietly, you need to tell me everything. She looked up, her eyes red. Maeve, you don't understand. Our family has always had secrets. Dangerous ones. I pulled out a chair. Then help me understand. She took a deep breath. Your grandfather's company. When he passed, he left everything in your name. But your aunts never knew. I kept it hidden because I knew what they were capable of. I froze. Wait, what? In my name? Mom nodded. It was his last wish. He said you were the only one who'd protect what he built. That's why I made you stay quiet all these years. That's why I told you to pretend you were sick tonight. They wanted to poison you the same way they tried with me. My mouth went dry. You think Aunt Carol did this? For money? Mom looked down. She's been trying to get control of the company for years. But Karen, she found out the truth recently and threatened to expose her. I felt a chill crawl down my spine. So tonight, the poison wasn't meant for you. It was meant for Karen. Mom's tears spilled, and I couldn't stop it in time. Before I could speak, headlights flashed through the window, a car pulling into our driveway. Mom's head snapped up. Hide, she whispered urgently. Why? She grabbed my arm. Because if Carol knows Karen's still alive, she'll come here next. I ducked behind the counter, peeking through the shadows as Mom opened the front door. Aunt Carol stood there, her smile eerily calm. Late night visit, she said softly. We need to talk, Linda. Mom's voice was cold. You shouldn't be here. Carol stepped inside anyway, closing the door behind her. Oh, relax. I just wanted to clear a few things up before the police start asking questions. Mom didn't move. The police already have questions. About the bottle. About you, Carol laughed. A low, chilling sound. You really think they'll believe your little story? Please, Linda. Everyone knows you've always been the jealous one. I clenched my fists, my heart pounding so loud I was sure they could hear it. Mom took a step forward. You tried to kill your own sister. You nearly killed Karen? Carol's smirk faded. Nearly? She repeated. You mean she's still alive? The air turned ice cold. Mom realized she'd said too much. Carol's expression hardened, her voice dropping to a whisper. Then I guess I need to fix that. She reached into her purse. I gasped. Mom! I screamed, jumping out from behind the counter. Carol's eyes widened. She didn't expect me to be there. And in that split second, everything exploded. Carol lunged forward, but Mom was faster. She shoved the chair between them, sending Carol stumbling back. Something metallic clattered to the floor, a syringe. My blood ran cold. Mom yelled, Maeve, run! But I couldn't move. My legs felt like stone as Carol's cold eyes locked onto me. So, she hissed, the little heir finally knows the truth. Mom stepped in front of me, her voice trembling but firm. You're not touching her, Carol. Not this time. Carol laughed, her voice sharp like glass. You always thought you could protect her, didn't you? You couldn't even protect yourself back then. Do you remember the hospital, Linda? The night you almost died? Mom's face went pale. You were the one who brought me that drink. Carol smirked. And you still drank it. I felt sick. Everything I believed about my family, about love and loyalty, shattered in that moment. My aunts weren't just fighting over money. They were fighting for control, and I was in the center of it all. Mom inched toward the kitchen counter where her phone was charging. "You'll never get away with this," she said through clenched teeth. But Carol moved quicker. She grabbed the syringe and lunged again. I didn't think, I just reacted. I snatched the first thing I could find, Dad's heavy coffee mug, and smashed it across Carol's wrist. The syringe flew across the room, landing near the fridge. Carol screamed, clutching her hand. "You'll regret that, Maeve." Mom grabbed my hand. "Upstairs now." We ran up the stairs, hearts pounding, slamming the bedroom door shut behind us. Mom pressed her back against the door, breathing hard. "Call 911, she whispered. I dialed with shaking fingers, explaining everything to the operator. But before I could finish, I heard footsteps. Slow, heavy ones coming up the stairs. Carol's voice echoed from the hallway, sweet but terrifying. "You can't hide forever, Maeve. You think the police will believe you? You're just a broke dropout. The company belongs to me now." I looked at Mom. "She's not going to stop." Mom nodded, whispering, "Then we don't hide." She opened her closet, pulled out an old wooden box, and unlocked it. Inside was a stack of old documents, sealed envelopes, and a small flash drive. "What's that?" I asked. "The proof?" Mom said. "Every record, every transfer, every email she sent after poisoning me. I kept everything." The pounding on the door grew louder. Carol was trying to break it down. Mom handed me the flash drive. "Maeve, listen to me. If she gets in, you run. Don't stop. This drive is our only protection." The door cracked. Carol screamed from the other side. "Give me the papers, Linda, or I'll finish what I started 20 years ago." The wood splintered. Mom grabbed a lamp, ready to fight. I clutched the drive to my chest, shaking. The door finally burst open. Carol charged in. But before she could reach us, flashing red and blue lights filled the windows. Police sirens wailed outside. Carol froze, realizing the front door was open, and someone was shouting downstairs. "Police!" "Drop whatever's in your hand." She spun around, eyes wide, and that's when Mom whispered, "It's over." But what happened next wasn't. Carol hesitated for a second too long. The officers stormed in, pinning her against the wall as the syringe rolled across the floor. She screamed, "You don't understand. That company should have been mine." But no one listened this time. Mom sank to her knees, shaking. I handed her the flash drive, whispering, "It's over, Mom." She looked at me with tired eyes and said, "No, sweetheart. It's finally beginning." A week later, Aunt Karen woke up in the hospital, weak but alive. The police confirmed everything. Carol had been stealing company funds for years and tried to erase anyone who got in her way. When it was all over, Mom handed me a set of keys to an office building with our family name engraved on the door. "Your grandfather trusted you for a reason," she said softly. I smiled, tears in my eyes. "Then I'll make sure no one ever destroys what he built." And for the first time, I realized being the underdog wasn't my weakness. It was my greatest weapon.